What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, and we are back continuing our top 10 films of each year. The never-ending project that we started back in 1995 that is still going. Well, we didn't start doing this in 1995, but we started last year doing our top 10 films, starting with 1995 when we first met, and we're kind of going towards all the way to the present, basically. We've made a lot of ground. We're on 2011, so we still got less than a decade to go because we've already done 2019 and 2020. So we're getting there. We're getting there, but it has been a very long process. But the good thing is that I've been rewatching movies that I hadn't seen since some of these years. There's a lot of films that I watched for this show that I hadn't seen since 2011. So that was a good thing. And then obviously we're doing the challenge films. So we're all watching new movies as well. So it just keeps us engaged at the very least, whether we like the movies or not. At least we're engaged. We're still watching movies or rewatching movies, shifting our top 10s from 10, 12 years ago. So it's been good for that, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I don't think when it was my idea. It was my idea, which I have regretted a little. Every once in a while, I've regretted since then. But I don't think I realized when I suggested it that since we've been breaking up each year into two different shows, I didn't realize that was going to be 50 shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I
quite
think
a
that,
lot.
Yeah, I think that for all of our 2020 and moving forward, we'll do the full long shows. I think we'll keep these broken up just because that's what we started off of, and we're still doing the challenge films, and we're still doing the we're doing the challenge films basically. And I think that's just gonna make for an easier show versus having like all these like hour and a half long shows, because our 2020 show took over an hour and a half. I think it was like an hour and 37 minutes or something like that. So
wow.
I don't want to do those shows all the time either. So so I think the broken up is good. Keep it at about 30-40 minutes, somewhere around there, and I think that's a much easier watch for most people. So I think we should keep it the same, even though it is going to take, like you said, 50 shows to get through all these. So
we've only got 16 more, I guess, right? 17 more.
Something like that.
Less. Yeah, less, because we already did 2020. We already did 2019 even, actually.
Yeah. So we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
We're well over halfway done. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool. Well, our 2011. So like I said, we break these up into two parts. So part one is going to be our number 10 through number 6, and then we'll do a second show, which will be our number 5 through number 1 with some honorable mentions. However, on this show, we actually do recommendations, or we have basically challenge films where there's a film that I challenge Jason to that he hasn't seen, and there's a film that he challenges me to that I haven't seen, and of course the film that I challenged him to I've seen, and vice versa. So we both have we had some homework assignments. I'll actually start this one off this time with the film you challenged me to, because you knew that I was going to love it, which is Muppets. Let me preface the Muppets by saying it's a musical. And anybody that knows anything about me and what I like is not musicals. So that was already kind of like going in, not knowing how much of a musical was going to be. I knew it was going to be a musical, but it is a musical. I mean, there are songs almost every 5 minutes in this movie. Basic plot is, I don't know if this guy's a new Muppet, but I've never seen him before. So Walter is the Muppet. Yeah, new. So his name's Walter. He's a Muppet. And his brother is Gary, which is a human. And they basically kind of grew up being big fans of Kermit the Frog and the Muppets and that kind of stuff. And then they get an opportunity to go to Hollywood, where the Muppet and they get an opportunity to go to Hollywood. Gary's got not a fiance. He's got a girlfriend that he's going with on like a anniversary trip, and decides to bring Walter with them. so that Walter can go and visit the Muppet studio, or their old studio where they all used to record and do their songs and dances and things of that nature at their shows. So he decides to come along with them. They get there. Of course, the studio has been pretty much shut down for the most part for the last few years. The Muppets haven't even been together in like a decade or something of that nature. They haven't been together in quite some time. They're all off doing their own thing. And Walter overhears the conversations of like some like evil executive basically saying that he's going to like buy out the Muppet studio and rebrand it and change it and everything like that. Long story short, Walter then tries to go out and with Gary find Kermit the Frog so he can get the band back together and try to save the studio. And so they basically have to come together to try to put on like a kind of like a telethon. They need like to come up with like $10 million in order to save the studio. That's basically the gist of the film. It's a musical. There's a lot of music. If I was like 5 or 6, maybe I would have loved it. Who knows? But as a grown man, I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me. So it was just way too much. It just came off really cheesy, and then there's like a song every 5 minutes. And then like, obviously some songs are always better than others, but I just have an issue anytime people break out in song and dance right in the middle of a scene. It just looks weird or odd to me. So it just takes me out of the character, or takes me out of the scene when they start singing and dancing. And I'm pretty much just waiting for the song to be over usually, so we can get back to whatever they were doing. So yeah, sorry man, just wasn't for me. I just found it to be really corny and silly. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I loved it. I'm not even, and actually I'll be talking about it a few minutes from now when we're into the top 10s, but I loved it. I thought, I wasn't a huge Muppets fan growing up, but I really loved this movie. I just thought it was really funny, really clever. The songs are good. It's got a lot of fun cameos by like Dave Grohl and Mickey Rooney, and you get to see Chris Cooper rap, which, I mean, come on.
Which is terrible.
You always wanted to see Chris. Yeah.
Which is terrible.
That's the point. That's kind of the point. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just a hilarious movie, and I don't think it is devoid of, it's like that movie. It's like to me, it's like Pixar movies that have stuff for little kids and stuff for adults. There's a lot of good humor in there for adults, and a good moral about being comfortable with yourself and finding where you belong. And it's colorful. It's funny. I love the songs. The songs are written by one of the two guys from Flight of the Conchords, and yeah, I love it. I thought you'd enjoy it, man. Sorry.
Yeah, just like I said, musicals just aren't my jam, man. I just couldn't get into it. It just came across as very cheesy. Sorry,
chilly.
Yeah, chilly. Yeah. It's very chilly, very cold. No, but no, it was just kind of cheesy for me. So, but cool. Thanks for the recommendation for sure. And then your film, which I recommended to you, which I already know you loved. So I'll bring that on in. The film I recommended for you was Columbiana. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Oh man, yeah. I'll say Columbiana is a movie directed by Olivier Megaton, which is such a cool name.
Megaton.
Who I'm discovering is basically the French Michael Bay, except that I actually like the Michael Bay movies.
The French Michael Bay.
That's what it felt like to me. But yeah, so this
French
movie,
Michael Bay.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, and which is not a compliment. But it's about a little girl whose parents are who are they're in the drug business in Mexico, and her parents get murdered in front of her eyes, and then she grows up to be like a badass hit woman who seeks revenge. So going just off of that, and she grows up to be Zoe Saldana, who's beautiful and talented and great. So going off of those nuts and bolts description, I thought, cool, this will be, at the very least, it'll be like just kind of like Kill Bill light or something like that. It'll be fun. But yeah, I did not care for this movie, man. It was just, I did not I did not care for this movie at all. I just don't like this guy's style. I mean, like, because you had me watch the Transporter 3, and I think there's something about these French action movies. I don't know why, but French action movies are kind of pissed America, but they get all the details wrong. So it's kind of very weird, and the dialogue is really bad. The acting is not very good. The story is just very silly. And sometimes the action is good. Like, I didn't like Transporter 3 at all, but I did like some of the action. And here I didn't even like any of the action, really. And, like, there's that part with the awful, like, CGI sharks that eat the guy, but you don't get to see the guy because they're bad CGI sharks. But, yeah, I just thought this was, like, one of the worst action movies I've seen in a long time. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I gave it 1 star. 1 star.
Yeah, I guess I should have recommended The Sitter for you instead. So.
Which I also watched. I don't remember what the other one, because we both had kind of 2 recommendations for each other last time that we were between, and I don't remember what the other one was that I was between with you. But I watched The Sitter because I saw it was about to expire off of HBO Max, and that one I really liked. Which I didn't expect. I didn't expect to really like The Sitter, but I really liked it. So I wish you would have gone with that one.
Yeah. I ended up rewatching The Sitter too, just for the heck of it. So yeah, just funny film. So yeah. Well, sorry, didn't like Columbiana. Well, but looks like we weren't on target for our challenge films for this one. But there's always next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference is the movie I gave you is really good, though. So
no,
that's the difference.
No, it's not. That's not the difference. The difference is the film was garbage. It was
whatever.
Juvenile garbage. So, I gave that film.
No.
What did I give it? 1.5. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah, I didn't care for it, dude. Yeah, like I said, there was just way too many songs in there for me. So I'm more about the story.
All right.
I don't want to see Chris Cooper terribly rapping. But cool. All right, well, moving on to our real top 10, which for Jason will probably be, since you already alluded to it, will be, similar to what we just talked about. So, but I'll go ahead and kick this one off. I'll start off with my number 10 film of 2011. So I'll bring that in. And my number 10 film of 2011 is going to be Margin Call. I don't know why, for some reason, that's just a terrible image of it. But it's Margin Call is my number 10. I didn't check. I got that from online. So I just rewatched this just the other day as well, because I hadn't seen it since 2011. And initially I had it like just out of my top 10. But after rewatching it and the movie that I had in my top 10, I ended up switching places with them. I really love it. So it just deals with basically the crash of 2008. So these are all pretty much Wall Street people in an office room. And they basically are, well, they lend money. So they're like a mortgage, like lending big conglomerate or something of that nature. And it's hard to really get a pulse on exactly what it is that they do, but that it's bad. So basically what happens is there are restructuring and they're basically laying a bunch of people off. One of the individuals they're about to lay off, he says, there's something that I've been working on that you guys need to really look into. It could be a problem. And they basically were just like, we'll take it from here, whatever. So he ends up like giving a flash drive to one of his employees, who ends up just on a whim putting into the computer to take a look at it, and discovers that basically they're kind of in the hole for money, and they basically have a huge financial problem on their hands. Which then basically steamrolls, it gets the ball rolling, and they have to basically start calling all the bigwigs into the office to have like this discussion about what's going on, what they're going to do, with the implications that this is going to have on like the mortgage industry and the auto industry and all the other industries that basically crashed back in 2008. So it's a drama. It's a very, very riveting drama, and I'm not describing it all the way the best, but it's a very, very riveting, great acting from everybody. It's got an all-star cast. You'll recognize Demi Moore and all the other faces. Kevin Spacey, who I know everybody hates now, but he's still a phenomenal actor. I can't, there's nothing I can say. He's just a great actor. Kevin Spacey's the star. It's just got all kinds of, big time, big name star, Jeremy Irons. It's got, everybody is in this film. So it's just a really, really good, just gritty, interesting drama where you're kind of like on the edge of your seat, even though I didn't quite understand always exactly what they were talking about or what they were referring to. You got the general sense of how bad it was and the implications it was going to have for everybody. And obviously that was 2008 was such a dark time for everybody in terms of the mortgage industry and the auto industry and jobs and the economy and that kind of stuff. And this basically was kind of like one of the big major players and what happened in 2008 that caused the big meltdown, basically. That caused it to go into like a deep, recession, basically, almost into a depression, basically. And they were pretty much responsible for a lot of it because they were like basically, giving out money and lending out money and not getting like, I guess the best returns on the investments that they were making and that kind of stuff. And they basically, takes you through the roles and like basically trying to have like a fire sale in order to, sell off all their stock and stuff like that to kind of make themselves whole. So very interesting film. I just enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So that was my number 10, Margin Call.
Cool. Yeah. I know I saw that movie and I know I liked that movie, but I don't remember anything else about it, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I remember it being good, a quality movie with good dialogue and good acting and all that kind of stuff. But that's all I remember. So, but I remember it was good.
Sounds like
I haven't even thought about that movie in forever. So cool, though. Yeah.
Well, you got to think about it, man. You got to think about it.
I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it right now.
Yeah, you're going to rewatch it.
I don't know if I'm going to do that in the near future, but maybe.
Well, that was my number 10, was Margin Call. Let's move on to your number 10. I'll bring that in for you, which is going to be Corman's World. What is that?
Corman's World is sorry, I'm fixing my camera here. Corman's World is a documentary about Roger Corman, who I think most people should know is a hero of the film industry, basically a pioneer of the independent film business and the idea of making movies outside of the mainstream, outside of Hollywood, outside of the big money. And if anybody who doesn't know Roger Corman's name and is a movie person, should watch this movie, because the movies as we know them today would not exist without Roger Corman. He's produced over 400 movies. He's directed over 50 movies. He gave a start to Francis Ford Coppola, to Martin Scorsese, to Ron Howard. Jack Nicholson his first movie was a Roger Corman movie. I could go on and on and on. But on top of that, just on top of the idea that he pioneered independent filmmaking in a major way, and gave art to all these great directors and actors, is that he also pioneered basically what we consider the B movie today. Monster movies, exploitation movies, crazy horror movies. Basically, none of what we think of today as independent filmmaking or B movies or monster movies would exist in the form that they are today without Roger Corman. On top of that, he's just a really nice, funny, talented, clever guy. So I know there's like a million documentaries about a million different things that come up every day these days. But this movie is really something special. It's got a real emotional component to it because, again, Roger Corman is such a humble, nice guy. You just like to hear him talk, and he's got so many great stories. And all those people that I mentioned before, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, they can't wait to talk about him because he's the one that gave them their start, and he was always such a cool guy to work for. So it's just a very entertaining movie. I highly recommend it for anybody who likes movies about making movies because, again, like I said, the movies as we know them today would not be the same without Roger Corman. So that's a highly recommendable documentary. That's my number 10. It probably should be higher, but I haven't seen it in a long time. So
cool. Yeah, I've I've never seen the film, so I can't comment on it too much. But yeah, I mean, sounds interesting. Obviously, anything about the film, industry is going to be interesting if you're, interested in film. So I just can't comment too much on it because I haven't seen it. So definitely can't fault it if I haven't seen it. So yeah, what's going on over there?
I'm having some tripod difficulty. Sorry.
Get it together.
There we go. That's better. All right.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. Cool. That was pretty much all I got to say. I haven't seen it, so I mean, there's not really much more to carry on to. So.
Well, watch it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah. Possibly someday. I'm sure. Maybe I will. Cool. Moving on to my number 9. Yeah. My number 9 is actually going to be Contagion. We've touched on this film quite a few times in the past, so I don't have to go too much into it. We did at the beginning of the pandemic, which is basically when we started our shows. One of our first shows was actually about Contagion, and we did a show basically about like quarantine, virus, pandemic films basically, and this was one of the top ones for me. I think it was pretty high up for you as well. I love Contagion. It's a great film. Definitely, like I said, it deals with a lot of the same complexities and issues that we're dealing with today with, like, they have basically a virus that comes out that starts like killing people. This virus obviously in this film is killing people probably at a higher rate than the coronavirus really is overall, because I think I've read somewhere it's like 1% of the population is dying from the coronavirus versus Contagion. I think it was much higher. I think it was like 10 or 15% or something like that. So obviously makes a world of difference in that case. But still, it seems similar. People get these symptoms and they get sick and then they basically die. It's highly contagious, and basically the film is basically about a couple different factions of people kind of coming together with the CDC and the WHO, trying to figure out and get a handle or pulse on the virus. Then it also deals with real people that are being affected by the virus. It deals with like bloggers that are talking about it and coming up with all these like conspiracy theories about who caused it and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the same kind of stuff that we're seeing right now today with conspiracy theories and all the other stuff that's going on. And they use a lot of the terms that we use even right now, which is crazy. So like in 2011, they were talking about, like, in this film, they're talking about like social distancing and things of that nature. And that's basically what we have to do now, social distance, and don't touch your face, don't touch your mouth, keep your hands covered, that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of the same similar stuff. They were wearing masks in the film. So very, very similar, a lot of parallels to what we're dealing with today. But just really, really good film, great acting, great story. And like I said, if you haven't seen it, definitely urge you to check it out. We've been living in the pandemic long enough that I think it's okay. People will probably be okay to watch it if you haven't seen it and you didn't want to see it because of it was too real and hitting home. I think by now we're all kind of been dealing with this for so long, you might be able to check this out. So that's my number 9 film, Contagion.
Yeah, I love Contagion. It's on my top 10 a little bit further up. But yeah, it's one of my favorite Steven Soderbergh movies. I've always liked these kinds of movies about like contagious, virus movies, whether they're realistic or not realistic. I just like that kind of scenario in a movie, to be clear, in a movie. I like that scenario. But yeah, I remember when this pandemic that we're living through got started, like so many people I knew were watching this movie, and I couldn't go there mentally yet. I was just like, maybe when things are a little more under control, and those are in the early days, and it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. Right. But I think, like you said, I think we're all so used to it now. And I do think, things have turned a corner toward the positive a little bit, I think, for a lot of people, vaccines being out there and everything. And, my parents have had both of their shots and everything. So it's over by any means. Yeah. Okay, good. Not that it's over by any means, but, I think I'm at a point mentally where I do think I could probably watch Contagion now without like having a panic attack. So yeah, so I might do that.
Yeah, and when we did that show, that was at the very, very beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was, probably like April or something like that. So it was pretty early on. Excuse me, into the pandemic. So I mean, we're a year into it now, so it's it's probably gonna have a different feel for sure. I mean, literally next month will be a year from basically us working from home. So yeah, so we're definitely a year into it by now. So
yeah,
cool.
Yep.
Well, that was
it's a great movie.
Yeah, cool. All right, moving on to your number 9, which we've already kind of discussed, which is the Muppets.
Yeah, so I love this movie. Not to go into it too much more, but like again, I wasn't even a huge fan of the Muppets growing up, but I loved Sesame Street when I was a kid, but that's not really the same thing. But yeah, I just thought it was a really fun way to reinvent the show and those characters. I like the fact that they got Jason Segel and Amy Adams and Chris Cooper, a lot of really quality actors in there. The songs are really good. They're really funny. It's colorful. Yeah, it's just a really fun movie. It's one of those that wasn't in my top 10 back then, but when I was just looking over the whole slate of 2011 films, when I reshuffle top 10s when we do these shows, I'm looking for the ones that really stand out. Like, oh, I could watch that anytime. And The Muppets is one of those that I could watch anytime because it makes me laugh, and it's just a fun movie that makes you feel good. So yeah, I love that movie. Therefore, it's in my top 10.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right.
I know it's awesome.
Hey man, we all have our top 10s, so we all have our own points of views. Moving on to my number 8, because I've already covered the Muppets. So my number 8 is going to be Drive, which stars Ryan Gosling. Basically, he's a race car driver, but he's also a bank robber. So he basically is he's not necessarily just a bank robber. He's the driver for bank robbers. So basically, they kind of like contract him to just drive for bank robbers. It's a very there's another film that came out a few years ago that's similar, but it was more of a comedy. I can't think of the name of it.
Baby Driver?
Yeah, Baby Driver. So Baby Driver, similar to that. You know what I mean? That's kind of similar to this one, but this one's got a lot more of a. It's a little silly in some parts, but it's got more of a also serious tone to it, and it's got some of the strangest soundtrack you'll ever hear as well. It's got some really strange music that it plays, and so basically he kind of gets involved with this or has an interest in this girl whose husband kind of basically just gets out of prison and gets into, involved with some shady characters. And then he ends up kind of like taking upon himself to get involved with the family and get involved with them. And also gets, in a nutshell, involved with the shady characters as well. And then, so that kind of where things kind of spiral out of control. So it's got some action to it. It's got a really great story. It's just a really just fun film, in my opinion. So, like I said, mixes action and drama really, really well. Ryan Gosling's the star, but he probably says 20 words in the entire film. If there's any knock, it's just that he doesn't say a whole lot in this film for sure. But he's always been kind of quirky like that in most of his films. You know what I mean? He's not like a guy that gets typically has these long drawn out monologues or anything like that. He's usually very reserved, but he is especially reserved in this film. So it's
stoic.
Yeah, very stoic. And and I enjoy it a lot. I've talked to other people. I know it's not a film that's necessarily for everybody. But it's definitely a film that I love. So like I said, easily in my top 10. One that I own as well. So that is my number 8, Drive.
Oh yeah, I love Drive. It's another one that's higher up in my top 10 for this year. So yeah, I think it's great. I think I love everything about that movie. I love I've seen other movies by Nicholas Winding Refn, I think is how you pronounce his last name, and I've liked some of them, but I've never liked any of his movies as much as I like Drive. But yeah, I love Ryan Gosling in this movie. I love Carey Mulligan in this movie. Oscar Isaac is the guy who just got out of prison. I mean, nobody knew his name really back then, but then he went on to work with the Coen brothers and Star Wars. You know?
Now he's everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
And Albert Finney, as the bad guy, and Albert Finney is, not Albert Finney, Albert Brooks, sorry. Yeah. Albert Brooks is, he's known for comedies, but he does a really good job being like kind of a scary crime boss kind of character.
Yeah,
and I love the soundtrack. Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I love that kind of 80s synthesizer, kind of Miami Vice, Michael Mann kind of feeling it's got over it. Yeah, I just absolutely love that. Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
Cool. Moving on to your number 8. Sorry, is going to be Melancholia. Melancholia. Yeah.
Melancholia.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Melancholia.
Yeah, no problem. Melancholia is a very interesting. Melancholia is a very interesting
it doesn't just
movie.
Roll right off the tongue. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah. It's a very interesting movie. It's a Lars von Trier movie. His films are definitely not for everybody, for sure. But I haven't loved every one of his movies, but I liked a lot of them quite a bit. It's a very, he made Breaking the Waves, Dancer in the Dark, Antichrist, The House That Jack Built. Very controversial director in every way, pretty much, in real life and in his movies. But this movie, it's typically, most of his movies, it's pretty strange. It stars Kirsten Dunst and Alexander Skarsgård and Charlotte Gainsbourg and Kiefer Sutherland, actually. And it's a movie about two sisters on the day of a wedding as a planet is about to collide with Earth. So it's kind of an apocalyptic movie, but it's also one of those movies where, everything is kind of a metaphor for something else. So it's an apocalyptic movie that doesn't necessarily feel apocalyptic, but it does. It's a very strange movie. It's definitely not for everybody, but it's an amazing visual experience. And I remember I saw it at the Crest where I worked, and the first time I saw it was on one of the small screens downstairs. But then later on, it moved up into the big screen, which, if anybody knows the Crest Theater, the big screen is almost 1,000-seat, beautiful, amazing theater. So I had to go see it again and sit on the front row specifically to see this movie on the big screen because it's an amazing visual experience. And Kirsten Dunst is really amazing in it too. She's a really talented actress, but I think that's one of her best roles for sure. And just talking about it, actually, it makes me want to watch it again because I haven't seen it in quite a long time. But yeah, I don't know if it's one for you, Kier, necessarily, but I love it. And I know, at least a few other people love it. So
yeah.
So
at least a few other people haven't even heard of it. Maybe. Yeah. I've never even heard of it. To be honest with you. So, but yeah, so I obviously don't have much of an opinion on it. But doesn't sound like my jam. So I'm probably not going to rush out and watch that one anytime soon. So
yeah, you can watch it after you watch the Muppets again.
Yeah, which I won't be watching again for sure. So cool. All right, moving on to my number 7, which is actually going to be Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. So obviously we know the Mission Impossible film starring Tom Cruise. I heard somebody recently tell me that he felt like that, like, I don't know, like 3 through like 6 are kind of interchangeable. I don't think that necessarily. I mean, I guess I could see how somebody might think that, but I don't think that. But I think they're all great. I think it's like one of those series. It's like one of those long running series that I'm not going to say that each one gets better, but they all are on par with each other, in my opinion. So some are better than others, obviously. But I mean, a lot of these I like better than like at least part 2. I think that was the weakest one of the whole series was part 2. And even part 1, I don't think is as good as some of the other ones that have come out afterwards. You know what I mean? And I like part 1 quite a bit, but I think that some of these ones would be better, in my opinion, than part 1. I've never ranked them all, but this is another really, really good one. Like I said, they're all really good. I mean, I think it's top to bottom. The whole series is really, really good, in my opinion. So, like I said, 2 is the only one that I think that you could probably skip and be okay. But Ghost Protocol is just another line of really, really good Mission Impossible films. And obviously, whatever caper Tom Cruise is involved in, it's always going to be interesting. You're not always going to know exactly what the mission is, what they're doing specifically, but you don't have to. So you really can't take that part too seriously. But he always looks cool. I mean, obviously scaling up buildings and, jumping out of planes and hanging on to planes and things of that nature. All of his films, he kind of like ups the ante of stunts. And this is another one in the line of a really, really good action comedy in some ways, but really, really good action thriller suspense films. So that's my number 7, Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Yep, that's yet another one that's on my top, but a little bit higher. So, yeah, I love it. I can I can sort of see what that person is saying in the sense that, like, I would say not 3 through 6, but 4 through 6 do all more or less have the same look to them, but they're only interchangeable in the sense that they're all equally amazing. You know what I mean? They're all just really.
But I mean, even myself, if you were to like ask me, like, all the main points of like Ghost Protocol, the stunts that he does, I don't know if I could tell you necessarily what he does in Ghost Protocol versus what he does in, the subsequent film and the subsequent film. You know what I mean? Like I would remember certain parts, obviously, if I watched him again, and I haven't seen this one in quite some time. So I do understand why, and it's not one person, it's a few people that have said something of that nature. I can definitely understand that a little bit. I do think that 3 gets separated from those ones because 2 wasn't that great, and so 3 was kind of like a return back to fold to bring it back to being a really, really good film, and it had a really, really good villain, which in that case was Philip Seymour Hoffman was the villain in that one. So that one is very distinctive as well. But like the villains in all these ones, I couldn't always tell you who the villains were, or you know what I mean. Like, so it's not quite as distinctive as that, but it's just a really, really good film. They're all really good. So.
Yeah, exactly. And Ghost Protocol isn't even one of my top favorites, but I love it. It's easily, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's my favorite still running action series. I'll take it any day of Fast and Furious or Bourne or Bond, any of those. Not that I like those, but it's definitely my favorite. I think it's got the action sequences are always the best. The characters are fun. It's got a nice sense of humor to it. Like I do like that they kind of worked in humor, because the first 2 are pretty humorless. But I don't love them, or the first one anyway. But the third one really brought kind of the humanity back to the characters, and 4 through 6 had just kind of carried that trend. And you got like Simon Pegg and Bing Rames and a really fun supporting cast each one. And 4, I do remember, the set piece. That's the one where he scales up the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. And that's really him. That's not a stunt double. It's not CGI. That's really him. So I think that really adds to it too. It's got that great part with the dust storm and like the parking garage that's multi-layered and moves on its own. So it's got, it's not one of if I ranked them, it wouldn't be in the top 3, I guess, probably. But it's just a great action movie. It's all of those movies, with the exception of 2, maybe. But they're just like, they're perfect action movies, in my opinion. So, yeah, awesome.
Yeah. For sure. Cool.
Yeah. And even people I know who can't stand Tom Cruise, and I'm not one of them. I like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I like
but even
Tom
people
Cruise.
I know who can't stand. Yeah, even people I know who can't stand it, though, if they watch those movies, they end up liking them. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to your number 7. Another fun film for the family. It's going to be The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, excellent movie, I think. David Fincher, who's one of my favorite filmmakers. I love almost everything he's made. Almost everything he's made. But this is one of those, much like Let Me In, where it kind of puts me on the outside as far as, like, quote unquote, film critic circles. And that not only it's an American remake of a foreign film, that not only do I like it, I think it's better than the original. Let Me In, I think, is a better movie than Let the Right One In. And this, I think, is a better movie than I can't remember if it's Swedish, I think, or Danish, or Norwegian.
Yeah, it's one of those European. I don't remember exactly where it comes from, but I agree. And I've seen both of them as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hate the first one. I thought it started off well. I like Noomi Rapace. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing her name, but I thought it got just kind of boring after a while. It didn't really, I never saw the 2 sequels, even though people, when they played at my theater, people just poured in to see those movies. I didn't really get it. But this movie I thought was far better. Maybe it's just, with Let Me In, maybe I just respond to that kind of aesthetic more. Even though I like plenty of European movies. I don't have anything against European movies. But I don't know. I just thought this was a better movie. It's more exciting. It's more suspenseful. I think Rooney Mara, this is the movie that really kind of catapulted her to a star status. It's just, it's got that David Fincher, smooth but gritty, really kind of starkness to it that I really like. The music's really good. I just think it's a better movie in every way. And also, Let Me In, also, you could argue that it's not really an American remake of a foreign film. They're both adaptations of the same book. So I know that's kind of cutting your way around the remake thing, but they are just both adaptations of a book, and I just like the way these movies did it better. So, not that I've read the book, but anyway, I just think it's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy it. It's actually in my countdown a little bit further up, though. I love it. It's definitely not for everybody. Definitely there's some pretty rough scenes in there for sure. So I will say that about it. But like I said, it's a little bit up a ways in my top 10. But I love it. I did hear the only complaints I heard is a lot of people felt it might have been too long. It is almost 3 hours long running time. I didn't notice it really until somebody mentioned it to me. When they mentioned it to me, I was like, yeah, it is a long movie. It's not one that you're going to break out every day and watch, that's for sure. But I didn't notice it being too long of a running time personally. So
yeah, and I think if you don't notice it when you're watching it, then that means it's not too long. Because to me, I've watched it twice. Again, it's not the kind of movie you would watch all the time. I've watched it twice though, and both times I didn't check my watch. It to me it doesn't feel too long, but I mean, I guess it is long. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen movies that are 2 hours, and I've been like, man, they could have trimmed easily 15-20 minutes from that film and made it a masterpiece. You know what I mean? So I definitely have watched movies that are 2 hours that felt like they were too long versus something that's 3 hours and not felt it was too long. So.
Oh, dude, I've watched movies that are 85 minutes long and it's too long. And I've watched movies that are 3 hours long and they could have been longer. So it depends on how good it is, really, how well done it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, moving right along to my number 6, which is going to be Fast 5 or Fast and Furious 5, however you want to pronounce it. So I love Fast 5. It's one of my favorites of the series. I think this is the one you actually might like as well. I know you're not a big fan of the Fast and Furious series. I like the Fast and Furious series. I know we talked about the Mission Impossible series and how you like that as your favorite. I've never really ranked all these series and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. They're all kind of how they're pluses and minuses for me. But I mean, Fast and Furious is pretty much the same. They're doing heist missions, they're doing missions and stuff like that. They're completely over the top, completely crazy. I feel like after this one, they really jumped the ante. This one was pretty crazy. They're dragging a safe through the streets and stuff like that. But after this one, I feel like it's where they really kind of get just wild, where they're driving Lamborghinis through through skyscrapers and driving vehicles out of airplanes and stuff like that. They just the next one they'll be in space or something, you know what I mean? But this one still felt like it was still over the top, but it still felt more legit. It also provided the introduction of The Rock's character as well in this one, so he's kind of on the hunt for them. And then obviously Paul Walker is in this one also, so he, before he ends up dying, in I think 7, something of that nature. But yeah, really, really good film. I enjoy it. If you like action, you like comedies, you like lots of just testosterone, this is this is the right movie for you for sure. But that is my number 6 for this year. Fast 5.
Yeah, it's not my favorite series, certainly, but I do think that is the best one. That's definitely my favorite that I've seen. Yeah, like I said, it's not my favorite series, but the action scenes are phenomenal. They're just amazing. And this one's actually got a pretty good story. I don't remember it, but I love the addition of The Rock's character. I love the interplay with him and Vin Diesel, which is probably so good at being tense because they really don't like each other in real life. So,
right.
But yeah, that's the only one that I feel like I'd like to watch again sometime. I've never seen any of them more than once. That one I would watch again because I remember just thinking it's not just a Fast and Furious movie. It's actually a good standalone action movie, So yeah, it's a good one.
Cool. All right. Moving on to your number 6, which shouldn't take too long because we just talked about it just a minute ago, which was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yep. We just talked about it. Yeah, it's just as all those movies, again with the possible exception of Part 2, it's just an exemplary action movie, pretty much in every way. And pretty much with Mission Impossible movies, you're almost guaranteed that it's going to be like something special. It's not like every other action movie in any way. And there's just something bigger and special and more fun about those movies than any of the other series, in my opinion. It's like the Bourne movies, the Bond movies, they're always, they're good. They're good usually, but they're also a little bit of a drag. You know what I mean? Like nobody seems like they're having fun in them. They're all very serious. You know what I mean? Where these movies, they're a little more fun, a little more lighthearted, without like being silly. I think that's one of the things I like about them so much. They get the tone so right. They're not too dark, they're not too light. They're just right. So yeah, I love this movie, like all the other ones.
Cool. Yeah. I already covered it, so you already know I like it. It was just basically one rank behind yours, so pretty much evenly even on that one. So well, cool. Well, that's our list. That's the bottom half of our list. Let us know in the comments. Have you seen these films? Do you like these films? Were they too low? Should they be higher? Were they too high? I don't know. And then obviously, if there's any that we haven't included yet in this countdown, well, come back. We'll have our second half of the show where we do our top 5, and then we'll also include some honorable mentions in there as well. So, and then, like I said, anything that's in my honorable mention, and Jason's the same way. Anything that's either one of our honorable mentions is usually films that we really like. And I own a lot of the films that are my honorable mentions, so I love them. Versus there's films in my top 10 that I don't even own. Just I loved it. I respected it. But I like Margin Call. I don't own Margin Call, but I like it a lot. It's a really, really good film. I just don't own it. So, yeah, so once again, just join us again for our top half, and we'll also do our challenge films for 2012 as well for that year also. So I don't know when that other show's going to be uploaded, but it'll be uploaded at some point. So, well, we thank you for watching. As always, if you like the show, we ask that you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss our updates, and we'll be back again with another show for you guys again real soon. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.